The Dreamer by Nicole, Abbey, Chapter 6, Part 2.
I leaned back in my seat, literally bowled backwards. But Finley said he was a good man. He was the best of men. I don't understand. Pirates were coming, and Father knew they would be unkind to her. I stared at him in horror. Is this common with pirates? He pursed his lips, looking distant and indifferent, like he was discussing weather with a stranger. My parents were a special case. How? The pirates were looking for something in particular. Well, what was it? It was treasure. Treasure? I cried. My pulse quickened, and I could feel myself go crimson. Why? How? Was your father a rich man? No, quite the contrary. Then why him? The story is involved and complicated. We have time, Captain, I told him. I mean, as long as you wish to tell me. He took a drink of his wine. He stared at the glass and not at me. It all has to do with the unfortunate fact that my father did not begin his career as an honest wage earner. I gasped. He was a pirate? A successful one, yes. He had his own ship, his own crew, before he was 30. Oh, how wonderful! What was his name? His name? It was William. Why? I don't recognize it. There's no reason you would. His career ended before his reputation could become known. Why? I asked. Mutiny. The single word was spoken succinctly. He didn't look at me when he said it. Oh, I answered meekly. They'd taken a vessel destined for the Americas, and they looted it. His first mate locked the passengers into the cargo hold and set the ship ablaze. Oh dear, is this customary? Perhaps on some pirate ships, but not on his. The first mate knew it would lead to mutiny. How? I asked. He knew my father would disapprove and demand they stop. He'd already had a good portion of the crew on his side by that point. So when my father tried to stop them, he turned to the crew, saying my father didn't have the stomach for piracy. The captain looked thoughtful, which was true in a way. By then my father had met my mother and wanted to wed her. He knew he had to change his ways to do that. What happened? I asked. He leaned back in his chair and he began to feel in his jacket for his pipe. He withdrew it. It was a habit I'd witnessed only rarely. Some of the crew stayed loyal to my father, and there was a battle. My father lost his ship but was able to escape with the other vessel. By then it was aflame, but they were able to put it out before too much damage had been done. What did he do then? When they reached port, my father and his crew were pardoned for their heroism. The owner was so grateful for his life, he offered my father the damaged ship in gratitude. He accepted it, married my mother, and began his new life as an honest mariner. He took a puff. You still haven't explained the treasure. I said the last word with reverence. He smirked. Well, we don't have to talk about it anymore if you don't want to, I told him. We shall do as you like, for the sake of those precious, all-consuming notes. I looked at him to see if he was being sarcastic. I think he might have been laughing at me in a vague way, but not irritated. He stood and pulled my chair from the table. But let us finish this discussion in the privacy of the cabin. It will be warmer there. I followed him, taking his arm. He pulled out chairs for me. He opened doors. He stood when I entered a room. At first it made me uncomfortable, even slightly insulted, as though he thought I couldn't do these things for myself. But then images would emerge in my mind. Images of the flicked button when it clattered on the deck and it rolled. Of Lupin saying, the captain's keeping the best for himself. I closed my eyes tightly, blocking out the memory. First of all, the captain said, there is no treasure. He said this without any preliminaries when we reached the cabin. It is just a myth, a family legend. What family? I asked. The owners of the looted vessel, Maharahi. Maharahi? I gasped. They are Egyptian. Yes, they are Egyptian, he confirmed. Is the name familiar to you? Oh boy, were they familiar. A great pharaoh, a king among kings by the same name, was shrouded in mystery in the present day. It was a great riddle to the academic world. When his tomb was excavated, there had been a buzz of excitement since it was still unopened, great hope that priceless treasure would be unearthed. But the archaeologists entered to find the tomb completely empty. Nothing, not even a sarcophagus. They were the family that your father's ship attacked? I asked. Yes. Go on, I barely breathed. Well, there's not much to say. Their ship was looted, a map discovered. When questioned, the passengers explained it was a family heirloom. It led to the resting place of one of their ancestors. No! I cried. Meaning and purpose suddenly inundated me again. All at once I felt rejuvenated. And they'd never bothered to unearth the treasure? He eyed me curiously. It was illegible. There was no legend, no way to read it. It was useless. But that didn't stop Looper. Looper? Marshall Looper, the first mate. Didn't stop him from what? Wanting to search for the treasure, he said. My father refused. He said it was foolhardy. I was silent, digesting all that I'd heard. The captain asked if I wanted to drink, and I nodded. He poured one for me and one for himself, but when he placed the drink before me, he didn't return to his seat. He uncharacteristically paced the floor. I turned to him. What were the pirates after? Why did they pursue your father again? I presume it was years later. Did he still have the map? No. Marshal Looper took the map. They somehow had the impression that my father had a key to the map, a legend. I'm unsure how. At the time of the mutiny, Frederick arrived and informed my father of what the men were doing. My father shoved some papers in his jacket before leaving, so maybe when Marshall found out, he assumed they were pertinent. Frederick? I asked. Yes, one of the loyal members of his crew. And were the papers pertinent? The captain shook his head. Do you still have them? Again he shook his head. They were burned long ago. He sat down on the edge of the small bed. There were still more questions to ask, but instinctively I didn't ask them. It seemed the captain was through talking about it. The delve into our histories, though entertaining, is irrelevant. I still don't know what to do with you once we get to port. I sighed and I leaned back in my chair. 2 years of my life's work, my drive and ambition and purpose. And for what? Was there no greater reason behind it all? Was it just cruelly arbitrary? Had I simply proven hypothesis, nothing more? I couldn't bear it if that was true. The path before me was bleak and uncertain. I still needed food, shelter, and clothing. I needed to make a living, some kind of life. How was I to do that? I couldn't live off the captain's kindness forever. I did not foresee this. I anticipated the calling to be more readily presented. I got up and I sat down beside him on the bed. What are your plans, Captain? I asked, watching him closely. How long will you be ashore? He sighed, running his hand down his hardened, weathered face. Not long. I must see my backers, take inventory, and get paid, and in turn pay my men. A few weeks are usually all it takes for a new assignment. Seeing the look on my face, he hurried to say, I won't leave you until you're situated. I know, I said quietly. Are you trained at all? Could you work? I hate to ask it, but I suppose I could teach, couldn't I asked. As a governess, he said. Surely with my credentials they would accept me at Oxford. What are your credentials? He asked. I have a doctorate and postdoctorate degrees. From where? I told him. Well, that is unfamiliar to me. Surely it is obvious that I'm educated. Yes, but one needs documentation. We both sighed, sitting there side by side. I shook my head and I clenched my fist. I will find a way. There has to be a way. There has to be meaning in all of this. You need a husband, he said. I looked up to find him watching me. His face, which I had described as unexceptional, seemed extraordinary to me. The shape of his dark, melancholy eyes and the way his springy hair fell on his brow, it was suddenly poignant. I wondered how it had eluded my attention for so long. If I had been an artist, I would have wanted to sketch it. I used to scorn statements like that, I murmured. The sea is all I know. If I led a different life, then... He made a helpless gesture with his hands as his voice trailed off. Strange, I said. I have no inclination to do so now. I looked at him thoughtfully, taking my time, gazing at his weathered face with leisure. His eyes were a deep brown, his skin tan. His lips were pale and slightly parted, his teeth a steady row of white. I saw that scar again, peeking up at me over his collar, and it seemed to beckon me. I felt something budding, taking new shape and life, something novel and strange. I didn't try to analyze it. Instinct warned me that dissecting it would surely destroy it, and I couldn't bear to do that. All I know is I felt alive, and I knew that I had never been alive before in my rigid, academic, unfeeling life. I leaned closer to him, answering the call from that thick scar. After a moment of hesitation, he too leaned forward, bringing us very close together. My thoughts ceased to exist. There were no thoughts. There was no time, no earth or sun or moon or stars. Suddenly, and against all laws of logic, the universe collapsed, leaving just him and me together. I will never understand it. He whispered my name, and just as I was about to close my eyes and surrender to this strange, tangible atmosphere, something flashed below me. I looked at it. My eyes focused on it in an instant. Captain! I cried, stooping to look at his belt buckle. It's impossible! What? What? He exclaimed, alarmed. Those markings on your belt buckle. That's shorthand, Captain. Modern shorthand.